Ladies and gents, welcome back to another feature of Engineers. Today we've got Ivan. Ivan's VP of Engineering at TravelPerk, who are based in Barcelona. We're not going to focus too much on TravelPerk today. We're going to dive into them a little bit. But I think today's episode is a real nice focus that I can get super involved in as well on what an engineering landscape within a business looks like. So we're going to touch on hiring. We're going to touch on the market, interviewing, retention, fostering a great engineering culture, and other facets to that. And we're also going to talk about a really interesting topic that a lot of people have asked for around a route to VP of Engineering. Stay tuned for future episodes, a route to principals coming, and other things when you're thinking about your career path. It's my little intro. Ivan, thanks for joining us. How are you?
All good here in Barcelona. Thank you for having me. Just the other way around.
Sun shining?
Yeah, actually, yes. After a few months of great rainy days, we are quite sunny today, finally.
Love it. Good. It's 5th of April, and it's quite grey and quite windy outside, just outside of London. So, yeah, there's nothing new there. There's really nothing new there. Should we kick off with you and TravelPerk? Do you want to give us an intro into both and help us set the scene?
Yeah, well, I'm quite old, so I'm a 43, single dad. I'm a computer science, so I studied here in the FIP in the UPC in Catalonia. I have been in the industry for 20-something years. The first part of my career was mostly in consultancy firms working for the government. I was really lucky to work in like 2-3 of the most important projects of the time and meeting really, really, really significant members that has been life-changing opportunities for me after that first interaction, like Carlos Gonzalez, former CEO in Serverless and former CTPO in Skyscanner, or Dave Garcia, like former CTO in Verse and SVP here at TravelPerk, or Sergio Berna, former CTO at TravelPerk and now CTO at Force Manager. So even in this consultancy part of my career, I was really a privilege working in very ambitious projects. And actually, I was leading as a director a very big department in Sadiel when I got a call from Carlos for joining a little startup and like stop managing 200 people and being a very hands-off manager to be a very hands-on leader in a like 4 or 5 team member size team. Wow. And it was probably one of the most understood decisions in my life, from no one to be also one of the most one of the best decisions in my career, because I discovered my personal product market fit. This is what I want to do with my life. I want to work in product companies. I want to solve problems. I want to be in startups. And I was spending the rest of my career working in early stages. I have found 4 companies. And actually, TravelPerk was my first scale up. And it was like, since the beginning, it was like every dot connected. Like my managerial background from these these years in consultancy firms, plus my enterprise mindset, plus my multidisciplinary skills from being in early stages and my own startups and my hands-on technical skills from the same period. So everything was important in my journey here at TravelPerk.
Nice. Okay.
And TravelPerk is an skyrocket company founded in Spain in 2015 for making the business travel suck less. And we focus on SMBs, and this company has been like skyrocketing even despite COVID. We have a very clear ambition, a great culture of the company, and we went through the COVID situation and we succeeded that transition. So we are dominating, I would say, the SMBs market for the business travel offering for SMBs with a great value proposition. specific for our customer segments, which is the ideal scenario for a product mindset guy as I consider myself. Like, we focus on what the 80% of our customers want instead of going to the customizations, and that actually help us to speed up everything in the company, from sales to customer care, from product to engineering, which is amazing.
I guess a really clear idea about what you want to do and what you want to sell to customers, or the problems that you're trying to solve, especially when you put travel and COVID together. They're not really two words that go well together over the last couple of years. But having that clear route to market has probably helped you. We spoke offline about other companies not doing so well, or acquisitions have taken place, diversifying into different areas. It's good that you didn't do that, and you continue in scaling, which obviously we're going to talk about next, but solid job.
Yeah, I think it was the leadership thing was very brave, because when COVID hit us, instead of slowing down the strategy for triplicating the size of the team, that it was the challenge that we were facing, they say, no, let's keep doing that, because this is gonna. So we basically reverted the pyramid of innovation, and instead of working on the core of the things that the users were not using, they were not booking, they were not traveling, we changed the pyramid of innovation for working in new things that we were expecting to be useful for them later. And now our value proposition is even a bit better than it was before, which is amazing. It was very brave from them. Instead of doing layoffs, etc., we stick with the team and we survive it.
Yeah. There's a couple of things we could get into. We could get into fostering an engineering culture. We could get into hiring. We could talk about some of your engineering values, or how you hire. Where would you like to start?
I think it's all a bit of interconnected. I remember when I was talking in December 2019 with Avi, our CEO, regarding, what is the challenge? And we were saying, we have like 30, 35 engineers, and we would like to be 100. And I connected with this entrepreneurial background, and I was thinking, my goals or our challenges here, like get people, it's like keep people, it's like making people grow, right? It's not just getting people, is all the funnel. So I connected with many books that I have read as an entrepreneur, like Steve Blank, Eric Rice, Frank Cooper, about customer discovery, about funnels, right? And I remember connecting with a memory of a guy called Dave McClure, that he was using a framework called the Pirates model, which is awareness, acquisition, activation, retention, revenue, referral. Yep. And he provided a suggested KPIs for monitoring how this funnel is working. It was called a customer lifecycle framework. And I say, maybe we should adopt this framework from an engineering perspective, and see what are the KPIs that are driving the journey of an engineer in TravelPerk. So we start measuring what is the brand building actions that we are doing, and what is the conversion of these actions for putting people in the funnel, which is the acquisition channel, right? Which is the hiring process. Yep. Then we start deploying metrics regarding the hiring process, like the time to hire, what is the top of the funnel metrics, what is the conversion rates for early stage. We started measuring right now the distribution of the scorecards from the engineers. We created a knowledge base for giving consistency to the candidates going through the process. Yeah. We also decided to have a very completely agnostic from the technology process, because we want to hire good engineers. Yeah. And we don't want to close the market to the stack that we are using at TravelPerk. We are using Django and React. Yeah. But we didn't want to close the market to experts. We are looking for good engineers that they are willing to take a new technology in their stack. So we have a completely agnostic process, but obviously we are monitoring how the interviewers are working. We are evaluating the pass rate and the offer rate, and making sure that we have the right setup, because we are investing a lot of time in assessing candidates, right? Yeah. And then we have an onboarding process, which is the activation in a customer lifecycle framework. So when you are putting that amount of effort in brand building and hiring, you need to put efforts in activating the people and making the proper onboarding, right? In our particular case, because of we are looking for good engineers that maybe they don't have background in our stack, we close an agreement with Udemy for Business. And basically there is a 2-3 week setup when you need to like allocate you all the services that you need for being a good engineer, for working as an engineer at TravelPerk. But also you need to go through trainings in Django and React for having a fresh start in these technologies. And then you deploy all the environment in your machine. So after these 2-3 weeks, we collect NPS metrics for checking if the process is working well. So we have quantitative metrics about the onboarding process. And whenever we have a spike, we are able to deep dive and see, okay, we need to evaluate or revamp the onboarding because it's not working well, or we need to change a bit the onboarding instructions. So it's not perfect, but it's doing the job. It's actually empowering in an effective way the newbies that are joining the team.
Yeah.
Then there is the revenue, right? Which is the performance of the team. We have done so many things here for evaluating how can we provide quick feedback, which is essential for learning and development, for the people to become better engineers from the behavior. So there are so many tools in the market for evaluating engineering metrics. In our case, we built something from scratch. We download all the metadata from GitHub, and we start evaluating and defining SLOs of metrics that we believe are not vanity metrics, but metrics that are really fostering good collaboration between the team. Like the time between the creation of a pull request or when a pull request is ready for review and the first revision, which is measuring the collaboration of the team.
Yeah.
Then we are measuring the time to merge. So whenever the pull request is approved, how much time it takes to you for merging that, which is measuring the ownership of the person. And finally, the size of the pull request. So the smaller the pull request, the easier it is to make sure that you are not breaking anything, but also to empowering a good revision from a colleague.
Yeah.
So we are fostering these 3 examples of metrics. And also one thing that we realized like 2 years ago is based on the engagement surveys, the team was telling us, I don't know how to progress. And when I get a promotion, I don't know why I got a promotion and not before. So basically, we benchmark the market, and we really liked the approach from Medium, the blog, regarding a tool that they have, which is called a Snowflake.
Yeah.
And we decided to get this concept and using the core values of the company plus the core values of engineering at TravelPerk and building like a competency framework based on a Snowflake. And
good idea.
We have used this tool for the last 2 years. And right now we are like 20 points in the last engagement survey compared with any other department in the company regarding how the people perceive that they have opportunities for growth and how the people perceive they know what they are missing or they know what they need to do for getting this next step in their career.
Yeah.
Which is great. I think that's one of the main reasons why we have the current churn at TravelPerk super low. It's a clear progression path.
Yeah, I think my point's in there. You touched on consistency within hiring. Important. I'll explain why. You touched on a safe landing for engineers coming into the business as in a really good onboarding process. But progression and something that is aligned to values within the business, whether it's career growth, business growth. But I think the first point on consistency is in actually going through a calibration process with people around you that are hiring people, as in if there is a substitution within one of your hiring pool, there is actual consistency between what we're looking for in an engineer. Otherwise, that can be misaligned from team to team, individual to individual. How can you actually parachute people into different teams going forwards if there isn't any alignment or an understanding of what we think a good engineer looks like coming into the business? The onboarding part, in essence, that the hard part is done, as in hiring people, which we're going to talk about in the next couple of moments, as in the market, the easy bit should be onboarding people and getting people performant, because the hard part and the hiring part is done. So do not stop there is my message to anyone listening. Do not stop there. Ensure that there's a really, really solid onboarding process where people can understand systems, processes, the people, and it takes time because it's information overload. But make sure documentation is available to everyone, and these playbooks seemingly that you've built around your mission, your values, or a playbook of 20 competencies of what's expected from people. I think companies do miss that, especially the hiring alignment, the calibration bit. I was shocked, to know that it's not widely used all the time.
Yeah, it's incredible how more effective the one-on-ones has become after the deployment of Snowflake, because after the performance review, you can discuss with your report why you are putting a 2 in these competences when I see a 4, and the other way around. And whenever you have an alignment, then when you have the discussion about, okay, in which competences you would like to progress for reaching the goal that you have next.
Yeah.
This is completely changing the relationship between the manager and the report, because actually you can provide quicker actionable feedback for the people to progress, and building self-awareness and building like in a positive and a negative way. I think we are really happy about that.
We've spoken from a Nirvana perspective of loads of people coming into the funnel, and we have our pick of the market, which we all know it isn't like that. How have you seen the market change, let's just say recently? What have you seen change specifically, and what have you learned?
I think right now there is a clear hyperinflation in the market, right? Yeah. And the reality is, I don't think the inflation is directly in the salaries. I think the inflation is in the valuation of the companies. So 5 years ago, a funding round, a Series A funding round was like 2-3 millions, and now it's like 25 million. So because of the lack of profitability in other investment tools, many investors are putting their money in technological companies.
Yeah.
Maybe the companies with more money are going to be, more people are going to be successful. Maybe not. Probably we can assess that they're going to be the same winners in the market from a revenue perspective.
Yeah.
But the reality is that means that if you have the same experts in the market, and there is more people and more money, everyone is fighting for the same for the same candidate. So I think there is right now a big change in the market that everyone is being approached with like 20-30% increase in the salaries every day.
Yeah.
And this is a big change, because this requires you that you need to be more competitive in the market adjustments. And obviously, when we do a change in the compensation bands, we need to adjust everyone in this band in the next performance review cycle, or as soon as we can.
Yeah.
Because we don't want people coming through the door getting 50% more than a colleague that has been with us 2 years. This is completely unfair, and we don't allow that to happen at TravelPerk. But when you are in this type of competitive market, you need to face this type of challenges, that you are completely disconnected from the market in 6 months. Like, the reality is very dynamic right now.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, I think this is the biggest challenge right now, and then you need to be creative, because you need. I think all of us needs to start thinking about, okay, investment for retention is more. So retention and investment is very important, and opening also yourself for new channels for acquiring talent that requires more investment from your side.
Yeah,
right.
True.
Like, there are many more companies doing like graduate programs, even from change career and boot camps, etc. because there is not enough talent for all of us.
No. There's quite a big conversation that it isn't sustainable, but is it sustainable that companies continue to acquire obscene amounts of funding and continue to push the bar in terms of salaries? Because it feels as if we keep on going on this upward trajectory, it consolidates for a while, and then we move up to that next bracket. It doesn't really feel like we're pulling away, or there is this bubble effect.
I mean, we have seen bubbles in the past, but I think the plan right now is that there is more resources for doing things, and there is the same amount of people who has the skills for doing that. So
yeah,
I don't think there is a bubble in the compensation, because if you evaluate, the problem right now is that the market has become global because of COVID.
Yeah.
And in the States, they are paying like twice what we are paying in Europe for an engineer. So it's sustainable because they have been paying twice for so many years.
Yeah.
No one is saying that in Silicon Valley there is a bubble.
Yeah.
Right? So they have been able to be successful paying twice what we are paying in Europe. The problem is right now we have become global, and we are competing with companies in the States that are offering very competitive salaries in Barcelona or in Berlin or in London.
Yeah.
So I agree with you that I don't see the bubble. I really don't see the bubble. I think we are just readjusting to a global market.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that at all. Purely conversations and speculation, I agree. As in, I think what happened off the back of COVID, it's interesting to see a dynamic shifting from US companies investing a lot in some of the European ecosystems that we have here and hiring great talent. It obviously fragments what we've built off the back of the last 20, 30, whatever many years here, creating our own ecosystems. So it has completely flipped the game entirely. Yeah.
And I think there are side effects on that then we can discuss about this, no? Right? Like people inflating levels just because they want to justify a higher salary, or people with 3 years of experience that someone wants to hire this guy and they are putting a senior level in this 3 years old or 3 years of experience professional, which probably as a company and a scale-up company, it's really hard to challenge that, right? Yeah. Because the people sometimes is very ego-driven, or sometimes they are looking for this extra mile in the compensation, which is completely fair.
Yeah.
But we cannot enter in that dynamic, because at the end, in 3 years of experience, doesn't matter if you have been in the most challenging environment, you haven't been solved as much problems as someone has been working in the industry 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah. What kind of engineering EVP do you try and create within your teams?
What
kind of engineering value proposition do you try and create within your teams? We spoke offline around a 20x mindset, creating safety within engineering teams, and other things. What do you try and create?
I think there are a few things that are important as well, but the first thing is the growth. So the growth, the projection of the people in the team. So 1 year at TravelPerk is like 3-5 years in many other companies.
Yeah.
Because of the natural organic growth of the team, you have the opportunity to take new responsibilities and being exposed to like very mature way of working, etc. So the growth that you are gonna get here and the brand that you are gonna build in your career is very unique. Like many other scale-up, I'm not saying that you cannot get that in other scale-up companies, but as a scale-up company, this is one of the things that you are getting.
Yeah.
from the other side, if we evaluate the landscape in lesser companies, travel companies, we can see that there is a 1.5 trillion market.
Yeah.
And there is like Airbnb, Booking, Skyscanner. So there is big monsters like between 50 to 100 billions valuations, right? If you look to the business travel, which is exactly the same size or more or less the same size, there is a very big fragmentation. I mean, Amex is like 11 billions. It's like 1-2% market share.
Yeah.
So right now we have like a couple of companies competing for one enterprise and the other SMBs, which in this case is TravelPerk, that can dominate the world. The opportunity for this company to become one of these big players that we see in leisure is super big in the next 5-10 years.
Yeah.
How many investments you can do in your life that can get back to you like a multiplier of 20, 50 times?
Yeah.
There is not that much opportunities in the market. And this is the game that we are playing because every employee, not every engineer, not every executive, every employee at TravelPerk has stock options.
Okay. Smart.
We don't have phantoms. We don't have growth shares. We have stock options. Every employee in this company. So that can be a life-changing opportunity for all of us.
Yeah.
And from that perspective, so I'm talking about like the intrinsic motivation of growing and taking opportunities, and we can discuss about that in particular. But also from the extrinsic perspective, from the compensation, it's a very unique life-changing opportunity.
Yeah.
And getting back to the investment, not all the companies that right now are raising money are going to be winners.
True.
Because we have been in this industry. We know that from 100 startups, maybe one succeeds. The reality is that the risk that you are managing at TravelPerk as a Series A company at the current status of the market with all the entry barriers that we have as a business travel company is very low compared with any other Series A.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That is true. We didn't actually focus a lot on the retention part, which I think is probably quite critical to that scale-up mindset. The stock options obviously plays to this retention mindset as well. That triggered my memory. Talk to us a little bit about, I guess, not just retention in the business. Probably stock options creates that because it creates that mission value for the business. But talk to us a little bit about retention within engineering as well, and what some of our listenership can actually gather from what you do or what other people introduce to retain really good people. Because yes, we're talking about this bubble, it's not a bubble, but we're talking about compensation rising, and everyone right now is being approached with salaries that could be greater than what they're currently earning. So yes, there's obviously going to be some outside perspective of what's going on, but we need to focus inside the business as well and think, how do we retain really good people that are building TravelPerk for tomorrow?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in my opinion, there is the intrinsic motivation and the extrinsic motivation. True. Compensation, recognitions, etc. This is an extrinsic motivation.
Yeah.
And I try to focus in the intrinsic motivation. There are so many books talking about motivation. There are so many, like Drive, Habit, so many good books about that. And all of them are more or less, or many of them are based on the self-determination theory.
Yeah.
If we evaluate the self-determination theory, which is the basics of the motivation, we find 4 pillars. The mission, which is not just the mission of the company. It's also what is your mission in this company? What is the thing that you want to accomplish in this company? Then you have the autonomy, that you are expected to be yourself and you can be successful being yourself.
Nice.
You have the progression, which is that you are expecting to be the best version of yourself and someone cares about that. And finally, you have the relatedness, the belonging, so that there is something bigger than you. And you are part of this group. I think if you want to have a very loyal team, you better need to have this solved.
Yeah.
Taking this aside, I really like all the gamification or serious game way of thinking. There is an open source schema about the players.
Okay.
And this schema is an hexagon, is identifying 6 type of players. The first one is the philanthropists, like people who do things because they love what they do.
Yeah.
We are not philanthropists. It's true that we are privileged people doing things that we like, but probably we will doing something in our place. We are working at TravelPerk because we want the extrinsic reward, not just for philanthropy. The second group is the socializers, people who do people who do what they want to do because they love to interact with others.
Yeah.
This is not our main goal as engineers.
Yeah.
The third one is the players, people who do what they do because they want to win.
Yeah.
This is not our main motivation.
Yep.
Then you have what they call the hackers, so people who is looking for the boundaries of legality. Maybe you have engineers, especially in the security field, that you want to have this type of people who are looking for the boundaries, but it's not the main goal.
Yeah.
And then you have two final type of players. You have the free spirits, which is people who love to create. And then you have the achievers, people who wants to pursue mastery. And if you evaluate these 2 players, many of the companies, many of the product companies in the market are willing to take this type of mindset.
Yeah.
People who,
True.
And evaluating the type of tools that you can provide to this type of mindset, you are probably building a setup for driving and keeping loyalty and retention in your team. So, for example, the free spirit is people who love to create things, to be in a creative environment, to be on board for learning a new skill, to have the freedom to fail, to get quick interactions and quick feedback for progressing. And then the achievers, they are looking for learnings, new skills, growth, getting recognition, getting mastery, and progressing, right? So if you look so many companies right now, they have the post-mortem rituals, which is a blameless. They have continuous delivery, that you have quick feedback regarding the pull request. You have career path framework for recognizing this progression and the mastery, continuous feedback environment with this one-on-one recording. All of this is correlated with this type of mindset, right?
Yeah.
And you have multidisciplinary squads with different type of multidisciplinary teams that really fostering this creativity. So this is essential for the retention.
Yeah.
This is really essential. So I think from that perspective, a company like TravelPerk who has OKR, which is a really bottom-up strategy for what we do next, etc., it's actually really fostering the retention too.
Yeah. I think there's a lot I can take away from this. There's a lot any engineering businesses and non-engineering businesses or teams can take away from some of the points that you've really just mentioned there. I think that's an important learning that I think people should think to take away as well, that retention is really critical, and it's about building a framework or a tool that allows you to do that really, really well. I think feedback's important, especially evaluating engineering feedback as well, especially in engineering teams, really, really important. But I think general feedback on, you're talking about pull requests, continuous delivery, this directly impacts or correlates to what an engineer would do on a day-to-day basis. And is there value in their work then? And other things, but having that tool or what makes up a retention framework or a playbook or something of that ilk, I think is important.
Absolutely. It's essential. Because if not, the people is just comparing you with someone else.
Yeah.
And in their compensation, it's just about numbers, and it shouldn't be about numbers.
For sure. We've touched quite a lot on hiring. We've touched a bit on retention, the journey. Can we touch on you and your route? You've had, like you introed, an interesting route. It's a route I get asked about quite a lot, to VP of Engineering, to CTO. That might even be on the cards for you over the next however many years. I don't know. But help the listenership understand what that route looked like for you over the last 20 odd years?
Well, that's a tough question.
Well,
I think
not over 20 years then. Not over 20 years.
Probably retirement.
Yeah.
No, but I think, not even industry has a clear definition of what it means to be a CTO and a VP of engineering. And usually you are using these roles depending on the context, which is completely fair. There is a really nice article in Medium talking about different roles in different stages, because obviously a CTO of a early stage company with like 2 people working together and a CTO at TravelPerk or a CTO at Microsoft has nothing to do, right?
Yeah.
And I think also it's very important that you identify what is your sweet spot and what do you want to do next.
Okay.
If you want to do something different. I mean, in my personal experience, I have been working in early stages, so I really enjoy this 0 to 1. I really enjoy that, and I actually really enjoy this transition of TravelPerk from like 20 engineers to 150 that we are right now.
Yeah.
So I really, really, really enjoy that transition, but it's not for everyone. So you need to build this self-awareness of what is the transition and what is your sweet spot for you.
Okay.
If you are gonna, and this is gonna be dynamic, because maybe you enjoy being in an early stage, and this is what you want to do, this 0 to 1, and not everyone is gonna be enjoying that transition. Not everyone is gonna be like getting the best of that.
Yeah.
There is people who really struggling with this 0 to 1. So it's not for everyone. There is a lot of risk. There is a lot of like chaos. And then you have like another transition, which is building the foundations of the way of working.
Okay.
And then there is another transition, which is the scale up, right? When you have the right foundation and the way of working, then you can speed up the hiring and building the processes for scaling up the team, which is a completely different stage.
Yeah.
So I think it's more important at the level. It's what is the thing that you enjoy the most now, and then thinking about what you are going to enjoy the most next, and having a good environment that is allowing you and empowering you to try that. I really like this concept of the pendulum from Will Larson.
Okay.
That it's talking about that. I mean, so many people. This is like a business plan, right?
Yeah.
When you are creating a business plan for a startup, you are drawing on a straight line.
Yeah.
But then the reality is a roller coaster.
Yeah.
There is no straight line. So I think the career, I mean, there is exceptions, but naturally the career is, you think that I want to become principal or I want to become VP, and this is less relevant than the next step. What you should try to do is just trying so many things. Because even if you want to become principal, spending some time doing a squad role or an engineering manager role, it's going to contribute to being a more successful principal. And so I think it's very important that you have an environment that actually is letting you and onboarding you and empowering you to take new roles. And then you will connect the dots at some point in your career.
Yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head in your second point there, as in maybe diversification in different roles. Let's just use the VP of engineering example. If you've come from an engineering background, to actually learn that awareness, it probably might be right to take a hands-off role for 3 to 6 months to actually learn a lot more about the people part of managing engineers, instead of being in the trenches or in the weeds, actually hands-on every single day. But I think there was something quite interesting there, that we're sometimes talking about a position of choice here, as in if we do have an environment that allows us to go and be an engineering manager or principal engineer. I don't think everyone, even though the market is nuts, I don't think everyone has the luxury to be able to choose what they want to go and be and do. Have you seen that before as well? And if so, what would your advice be to that?
So I think everyone should have the autonomy to dream and decide what they want to become. I think that's fair. And then what is less clear, if you are able to become a principal in Stripe, it's a completely different problem than if you want to become a principal in a Series A or in a startup. Probably, and a startup doesn't need principals, but you get my point. So I think everyone should be able to dream, and you can have any level of ambition. I will connect that with. I remember that we have been having some offline conversation, and you mentioned what would be my piece of advice, and I think probably I can take this one now. My piece of advice is that, especially in the early stages of your career, build a foundation, because very easily you can get trapped in this extrinsic reward approach. Like, I want more money, I want a different level, I want just a senior level in my name, or a staff engineer or a principal. And by doing that, you are compromising the building of the foundation of you as an engineer, as a problem solver, and I think right now, especially because we are fucking privileged in a very challenging moment in the story, right? We are a privileged collective.
Yeah.
The people should not rush in their progression, and just finding the right environment for building the right foundation, working with better people than you, learning from them, and not rushing in the progression, because you are going to build a foundation for your career.
Yeah.
That the people who are rushing in jumping between companies just for getting the progression, they are not going to have that.
Yeah. So someone described it to me as impact. Forget the job titles. You said it quite well, as in a principal engineer, I think you said at Stripe, to a principal engineer at a Series A. They are very, very, very different jobs. So the impact of those roles is very different. Same title, impact very different. I always try and advise people on what is the actual impact on a day-to-day. What would you actually list as an impact statement or a milestone or achievement on your profile versus another role? And I think people forget that when they're thinking about a job title or compensation, which job title is probably BS a little bit, but money or compensation I understand to a degree. But I think the impact is really important. And off the back of that, if we're talking about a route to a VP or principal or whatever it is, think about the impact at your next role or your next choice, because that will be extremely valuable. As like you say, in your next pendulum step, you could be here one moment, you could be off to the right or left-hand side in the next moment. It will still be valuable if it provides you with impact.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
You mentioned quite an interesting point at the start of the podcast. A lot of people that you've worked with who are bright, I think CPTOs. I heard Skyscanner in there. I can't remember all of the names that you spoke about. So the people around you seems as if they've been massively influential on you and your career as well, right?
Yeah, I think talking about the onboarding, one of the most impactful things that we have done at TravelPerk is building an engineering manager training program. And so whenever someone wants to become like an associate engineering manager, and he wants to start getting a couple of reports and start learning about a completely new career path, we have an onboarding program. It's like 6 cases, an active learning, and one of the things I usually like to do the kickoff of this training, and then I explain my career and explain what are the expectations of the roles, and we share some books and some blog posts and some content that we believe it's relevant for them. And one thing that I mentioned is that it's very important to build a network of mentors.
Yeah.
Because you cannot expect at your work to find people that it's gonna inspire you. So the senior you become, the less probability you will have to find people in your workplace that can really help you drive to the next level. So it's really important to build a network of mentors or colleagues from other environments that can fostering you and challenging you in situations that you can ask someone else in your workplace.
Couldn't agree more with that. Especially for engineering or a tech company, but I think in life generally. I've started using someone recently that I've known for a long, long time, and it's such a different perspective. And then you start to realize that, you can fall into the imposter syndrome trap where you think, wow, I didn't know as much as I thought I knew. I best take a step back. But it's a good step back. As in, then you start to look at things in a very, very different way.
Absolutely. Yeah, the imposter syndrome is something that we really struggle, because so many organizations, we build respect based on your capacity to deliver technically, right? Yeah. And whenever you decide to do this transition from maker to a facilitator, you are going to suffer that. You're going to suffer that you think you are not having an impact because the impact is actually indirect. So you are empowering others. Your mission is to empower others, and the bigger is the impact of the people you are empowering, the better you are doing your job. But changing that mindset it takes time.
Yeah, it does. It really does. I've thoroughly enjoyed our chat. I think there's some real strong sound bites that people can pick up from hiring. Retention's critical, a scale-up environment, and a massive opportunity with TravelPerk. Good to get your vibes or your understanding on what's happening with the market as well. And I think with the route to the VP of Engineering role, diversification, try new things, learn more about what's going on around you or from other people external to the business that you're within. So I do want to say a big thanks for coming to share with us and parting with your wisdom and helping other people learn. And good luck to TravelPerk. You've got a new customer here as well.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed the chat, and talk to you soon.
Yeah, and as always, for everyone listening, likes, shares, subscribes. There's going to be some links below where you can reach out to Ivan and others at TravelPerk, so you can see a little bit about what's going on and see some of what Ivan's saying externally as well. So a big thanks for everyone. Peace and love. Hey guys, thanks for watching this episode. Massively appreciate you listening and checking in with us. If you want to find out more about us and what we're doing, please check us out on social media. What we're trying to do at Enginears is build a community to drive knowledge sharing and experiences. On Twitter, we can be found Enginears.io. It's no_. We've also got a website, which is enginears.io. These links will all be posted in the description. Any feedback and comments are massively appreciated. We're always looking to improve on where we can. Thanks, guys.